Today on Locked On Rockies, a series split after a shutout at home. You'll take those against some of the best names in the business, but a question remains. Will Cal Quantrill be on the move?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 5th day of July in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. So let me know. Go over there. You're liking, you're subscribing. All that stuff really helps the show. And if you listen to the show on audio and you wouldn't mind going and dropping a review over there, dropping that 5-star review, that would be wonderful if you're looking to help as well. We're going to review the Brewers series, as well as talk about the possibilities of Cal Quantrill being traded. And a really good piece in Purple Row highlights some similarities between the Rockies and the Royals, but a key difference. And I want to talk about that as well coming up here as well. If you're curious about the article, you want to read ahead, Royals offer Rockies a hybrid blueprint for future success by Joel Milholm on Purple Row. We'll read that coming up here in just a little bit. Before we dive into all the fun today, got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. This episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. All right, so the Rockies, they do that's a good series split. A little frustrating in the fact that should have been a series win more often than not. I mean, if you have a closer, if you have a bullpen that can shut down games and get the job done, you'll usually be able to win those series. But unfortunately, it ends up being a split. But we see the Rockies bounce back after being blanked, and especially at home. And this was, what's interesting about this is too, it's as the rotation flips over, the Rockies had opportunities to kind of go through the back end of the Brewers rotation, and they didn't do as much damage as I was hoping for. And then when they flip it over and they flip to one of the number one in the rotation, I believe, for the Brewers. Let me double check on that. Tobias Myers, I believe, is the number one there in the rotation. But it was good to see. I mean, there was just a lot of small things that the Rockies did right. They still strike out 7 times. That's still a problem. But it was a game in which the Rockies were able to create opportunities for themselves, and again, go back and forth and stick with things. And again, the more frustrating part is it's the offense comes out hot, starts hot. First and second innings, we're seeing runs, and then it's nothing up until the 6th, where Jake Cave hits the home run to break the tie. I like the fact that the Rockies were able to jump ahead early. I think that's a great sign. The Rockies have been good at scoring runs in the first innings, in the second innings. I think they talked a little bit about this on the broadcast yesterday as well. But to see it cool off completely for the rest of the game, that's my biggest, not my biggest frustration, but when you're looking again for those warning signs and those things that get in the way of the consistency of the Colorado Rockies, that's it. This is a moment where if you can build up a 3-run lead by the time the second ends, you got to keep the foot on the gas. You got to be able to put your foot down and really separate yourself. But the bonus here, the added bonus of jumping in ahead in a game like this is, if you can give Cal Quantrill the lead, you're a little more comfortable, even though he wasn't as sharp as he can be. The high pitch count being something that was talked about a lot, and the 4 walks yesterday for Cal Quantrill, a little out there. But when you're feeling a little more confident in your offense, right? When you're feeling like your offense can get the job done, or has gotten the job done, and has put you in a situation to hold the lead, I think that's where the starting pitchers want to be. I mean, you can ask Dakota Hudson if he would like to have some more run support this year, and what that would look for him. So I think that's a great confidence booster when you can start the game off with a couple of runs and get on the board first. It's just about keeping that pressure on throughout the game, because unfortunately we've seen too many times where there really isn't a safe enough lead for the Colorado Rockies this year. There really isn't. I mean, there's no lead that you feel at this stage that you feel 100% confident in when this team goes to finish off ball games. We've seen this team, like what's the stat? We've seen them more multi-run. Was it more times allowing 5 runs or a crooked number in the 9th inning while holding a lead than other teams? I butchered that stat, I know, but we've seen this team lose in the 9th. We've seen this team blow leads. We've seen this team have leads going into the 9th inning, and that they have lost 7 times now because of that, or not because of that, or in those situations. So you just got to keep adding on, add on. The best way to support this bullpen, the best way to make sure to build confidence in the bullpen getting the job done is by adding runs. But you know what? Another 1-run lead here in this finale against Milwaukee, and the bullpen stepped up and did their job. Credit when credit is due. That was a good performance by Molina, Kinley, and Beeks. Even with Molina allowing the earned run there, they came in and did enough of their job. I still don't like to see walks, especially Tyler Kinley, but Tyler Kinley gets a couple of strikeouts and Beeks gets a strikeout, and the job is done. The game is won. It would be nice if the Rockies didn't need to use as many pitchers as they did, but it shows you that it's possible. It shows you that there is the possibility, like when they can win a game like this, right? When they win this close game, it just adds a little bit more frustration of like, oh, why haven't they been able to close them out in those other situations? Because like I said, you flip the script on the Rockies there and you change the 7 wins. They're 37-50. Still not going to, make a massive change, but you'll happily take those 7 more wins. You'll feel you feel a lot better as a team, and you feel a lot more confident as a team there. But so again, nothing, it wasn't necessarily a dominant performance by any means for anybody, but it was a performance in which they just did the small things right. They played the clean game of baseball, right? The Milwaukee ended up with 2 errors. The Rockies played a clean game there. They do at least pull 1 double play, and they are able to drive in a couple of runs. Still 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position in the game there, and leaving 4 runners on base during that situation. But again, it's one of those games where they didn't knock your socks off. They didn't blow you away, but they just played good baseball. They played 9 innings of good baseball. And sometimes when you're watching the Rockies, that's all you're really asking for, is for this team to just play 9 complete innings of solid baseball. And that's what they did in this one. And this wasn't a horrible series by any stretch of the imagination. Unfortunately, like I said, you would have loved if you didn't blow the game in game 2, because the shutout's like, whatever. It's not as frustrating in the sense of it still is, you still could have won the series. Shutouts at home are, obviously not something that we ever want to see, but still, that's a good Brewers team that came into Coors Field, and the Rockies handled business. The Rockies outscoring the Brewers here by a score of, let me just do my quick math. That's 11 and then 14. Even the Rockies even outscore. The Rockies actually did not outscore the Brewers, if my math is correct, because that's 14 and then 21, I think, runs in that. Let's see, 7. No, my math is 7, 14, 17. Okay, I was like, I don't think that I was adding in that last White Sox game that I'm looking at here. So yeah, the Rockies are able to get after a good team. That's another example of the Rockies taking on a first place team, a 50-win team, and handling business. The Phillies came into town a couple of weeks ago. The Rockies did it, and it's good to win these. And I mean, it reminds you that that there's that weird aura right at Coors Field where it feels like they're a different team, but they're only 18-26 at home. I think that's an interesting thing too to take away from this, as it's a series split. It's, man, the Rockies play better there, but they're still not as good as you'd think. They still have the issues there. They're still not as dominant as at home as they need to be. But it does. It's another example that when teams stroll into town, when they stroll into to Coors Field, they're definitely uncomfortable by that. They're definitely sitting there in a situation where it changes things for them. One thing, man, they talked a lot about this on the broadcast, and what was fun about watching the Brewers in this, man, you can just see how much they really bought into that speed, how much they really like, and I just think that is such a great angle to take there. I don't know how well the Brewers will fare when the chips fall, but that's a sneaky good team that came in there. I mean, that's a team that's only one less win behind the Dodgers that you just split a series with there. So again, it's a reminder that when the Rockies are playing their best ball, or when they're playing good ball, especially at home, they can go blow for blow. They have chances at winning series. They have chances and opportunities. It's just it's just a matter of the Rockies taking advantage of those opportunities and getting the job done. Cal Quantrill's gotten the job done this season. He's in an interesting spot when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. He didn't get the win yesterday, but he was on the bump for more Rocky success. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about him possibly being on the move coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Booking.com. This episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city. I have done the baseball road trip a couple of times. I have done trips for baseball, and it rules. If you are thinking about taking a trip to go see some baseball, maybe it is the rivals. Maybe you want to head to LA. Maybe you want to head to Phoenix or San Diego. All pretty darn good options there. Why not see all the options for yourself on Booking.com? From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travels this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com or on the site or in the Booking.com app. That's Booking.com. Booking.yeah. We are also brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. eBay Motors, passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Folks, you can also find all your Rockies play-by-play action all summer long on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Check it out there. And of course, thank you for making us your first listen of the day. So Rockies split the series with the Brewers. We were talking about things to like in that series. Man, again, Brenton Doyle. I don't think we can't talk about him enough. And we've seen a couple of the young guys, Tovar, with the scuffling a little bit. That's going to happen. I'm not looking at Ezekiel Tovar, and I'm not seeing the big warning signs and panicking and things like that as he's going through it. He's going through it. That's what happens. That's what happens from time to time. It's interesting. And it's interesting to see that Brendan Rodgers now has the highest batting average on the team there. And I thought Elias Diaz might still have that even with the injury, but that's an interesting about Diaz playing every game and being a factor in them as well. Even with, you can clearly tell that the calf is still an issue. I'm wondering what that might mean, but I'm also wondering what that might mean for teams that were like, and then they see him actually go out there and pick up hits throughout this series and maybe not running the best, but still, do you need plus running from Elias Diaz right now, or do you need him able to catch and able? That's, I think, really the bigger focus, right? Like if you're thinking about trading for Elias Diaz, it's probably that. How is that calf and his ability to catch? I mean, the offense is certainly a factor and something that people like, the plus offense of Elias Diaz. But if you're going to trade for a catcher, he's got to be able to catch as well. So I think that was another good sign in terms of for the Rockies and what they might figure out to do. Was Elias Diaz suiting up and playing behind the dish yesterday? Good sign for him as he continues to work on that calf. Another possible trade candidate for the Rockies is Cal Quantrill, the starter in yesterday's game. We'll see here. This is, let's see. There are rumors, and there are people poking around here, and there are murmurings. But The Athletic is reporting that the Rockies do plan to consider offers for some players who are controlled beyond the current season, and that includes Cal Quantrill and Austin Gomber. And can the Rockies afford to trade pitchers? Can they really afford to do that? Should the Rockies trade a Cal Quantrill when we've seen how successful he can be? And I think the answer is it still is a maybe for me, I think, because this is the time to trade Cal Quantrill. You don't need to the Rockies could overextend Cal Quantrill. You can, I mean, it's a weird, murky thing. And again, if Cal Quantrill is solid still, but the Rockies are 30-57 as they are now, is that the best use of Cal Quantrill for the season? Like, does having Cal Quantrill for the rest of the season, and I believe next season, I think, because he's got that one more year, is that going to be a game changer for the Rockies to help them with the push to push back to 500? Let's even start there before we even get to winning record, wild card, et cetera, et cetera. Cal Quantrill helps there, but I don't think fully committing to a huge long time of Cal Quantrill is the right move. I think what we've seen with Rockies pitching, especially as the Rockies are navigating and hopefully getting close to the tail end of navigating three of their main starters being injured in Freeland, Marquez, and Senzatella, with the Rockies' commitment to those players, you kind of had a better idea and a clear understanding of what the rotation was going to be. There hasn't been much that's different. I know, obviously, with the injuries, that's changed things. But when they signed those contracts, right, when you extend them, when you brought them in and you extend all of them like that, I just think that's a bit of a warning sign. I think it's a bit of a warning sign. I think, can you sit there and you look at and we got to wait until he comes back, but the Antonio Senzatella extension, are we super pumped on that? Are we super pumped on the Kyle Freeland? I am. I mean, but again, are you super pumped on that results wise? So if Cal Quantrill is going to, you're with Germán Marquez slated to return here in the second half of the season, with teams interested in Cal Quantrill, with teams interested in some of these pieces that the Rockies have, I think you got to have the mindset of selling. While keeping, if you don't trade Cal Quantrill, I'm not upset by that. You have a bona fide starter that has been solid for your club, that has the exact mentality of how it is to pitch at Coors Field. Regardless of what happens to Cal Quantrill in terms of where he ends this season and next season, you have to give him props because it is so refreshing to hear and listen to a pitcher, especially one that's come in, and just say, I don't care. I don't care about the drama. I don't care about the altitude. I don't care about the narrative. I don't care about this. My job is to go out there and pitch. My job is to go out there and compete. My job is to go out there and be a competitor. And that's what I really like about Cal Quantrill. So that's why when I sit here and will I be upset if the Rockies stick with Cal Quantrill? No, I won't. I mean, yes, you can trade him for more. Yes, you can trade him from down the line. And yes, that's a smart idea and should be the main focus of the Rockies. If you can trade players and get value back and help you rebuild and retool for next season, 2026, down the line, that is a good idea because 2024 is lost. 2024 is a wash. The season is over in terms of playoffs and that stuff. So if you're able to build up your, what's the difference if you keep losing with or without Cal Quantrill, right? So if you can move Cal Quantrill, and out of the rumors here, if the team's interested in Austin Gomber, I think you make the trade. I think that Austin Gomber has fought tooth and nail through this trade, through everything, and has shown that he can pitch. I mean, he can be an effective pitcher in Major League Baseball. It's just, is altitude, is the philosophy, are the Colorado Rockies really the place where Austin Gomber is going to thrive, where Austin Gomber is going to be dominant? And I think we've seen that that's not the case. The Rockies have not helped him develop into an elite level pitcher, and the environment that Gomber has fought through over the past 3 seasons hasn't turned him into an elite pitcher. But I bet you it's made him much stronger as a person. It's made him much stronger and much more confident going forward because it has been tough for Austin Gomber to be here. So there's a whole breakdown on MLB trade rumors if you want to go see a little bit more deep dive into the possible trades and what the Rockies might do. So it's really good. But here's at least a little blurb. While neither Quantrill nor Gomber would fetch the type of haul that would seismically improve the Colorado farm system, both should generate interest. That's true not only due to their relatively affordable salaries, an extra year of club control, but also due to the simple lack of alternatives on the market for teams seeking rotation help. And teams need rotation help. We know this. Teams need starters this year. Quantrill is a borderline playoff starter at best, and Gomber is likely seen as more of a 5th starter who can help eat innings before sliding into a bullpen role in the playoffs. For some clubs, that type of stability is all they're seeking. So again, making these moves, you're not going to get number 1 prospects. You're not going to get this. But can you add a couple of arms, a couple of AA arms by trading these guys? But could you add an interesting bat? Because another thing too with trades, the Rockies, clearly with the offense and everything, I know the main focus is arms. But in reality, the Rockies need to start evaluating this offense and making sure that they're adding quality bats into this farm system as well. And I know that there's some interesting bats in the system. I know the names. I am aware. But we can see how often that the Rockies offense is anemic still. And it's something that they can't ignore. So if you had to ask me, do I think the Rockies will actually trade these players? I say no, because pitchers that are good enough for the Rockies with an extra year of club control seems like exactly what they'll do. But when you look at it all, can you keep both of them and add in Freeland, Marquez, and Senzatella back in? What and mixing in, what do you do with your Feltners? What do you do with your Lamberts? What do you do with all these? I know Lambert's out of the bullpen these days, but what do you do with some of the young arms? What does that mean for Dakota Hudson as well? So you're gonna have to figure that out, and you're gonna have to figure that out going forward as well. So we'll see. I don't see it happening, but it either way, there's solid. There's a solid reason to both. And again, if you punt on this season and you end up making the trades, not a big argument here. All right, let's there's a little thing I want to point out about the Rockies and the Royals coming up from this article in Purple Row that I want to talk about. We're going to do that coming up in segment number 3 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Rockies, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collections season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon, and be sure to mention Locked On Rockies at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount off their services. We are also brought to you today by Ibotta. You bought we bought sandals, sunscreen, snacks for the kids. What do these have in common? You're probably buying a ton again this summer, but don't stress about the cost. Use Ibotta and get cash back on all of your purchases when you stock up on all your summer essentials. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. And right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play and download the free Ibotta app and start earning and get your cash back. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are indeed free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. Make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports today for your 24/7 live stream from all the hosts here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And, of course, all your baseball action available to you on SiriusXM all season long. Just check it out. I wanted to read a little bit here from this piece, and I highly recommend you go read the whole thing because it'll dive deeper into this, and we don't have enough time to dive into all of the great stuff that's in this article, but I wanted to highlight at least a key part of it that kind of talks about the differences, two bad teams, the changes, the ideas, and the philosophies, the differences that they make. I really just want to pinpoint this thing, but this is from Royals Offer Rockies, a hybrid blueprint for future success on Purple Row by Joel Milholm. And I'm going down here to this here. Where I got to find it. I lost where I was. Okay, here we go. As described by the Athletics, Rustin Dodd and Zach Meisel in mid-June, Piccolo, the new GM of the Royals, who was promoted in 2022, who was the scout. It was promoted former scout JJ Piccolo to GM and president of baseball operations. Sound familiar, as Purple Row points out, and demanded the organization be more data-driven. As described by the Athletics, Rustin Dodd and Zach Meisel in mid-June, Piccolo made big changes going into the 2023 season, highlighted by a new coaching staff under manager Matt Quantrill, who has been the bench coach for Tampa Bay. Piccolo began to forge a new identity, blending the organization's old-school mom-and-pop feel with a diversity of thought and analytics. It didn't immediately work out as the Royals recorded 106 losses in 2023, setting that franchise worst record. But now look at them. They build around Bobby Witt, and this isn't me talking, but they go on. They talk about how they're building around Bobby Witt. It's talking about how they stuck to the plan, and now they're in the situation where they're 48-41 and looking at the playoffs and looking hopeful. It's because that's opening your mind. That's an owner. That's a team that saw themselves and say, this isn't working. Our history, our mom and pop, whatever, ain't working. So we need to change. And that's something that Dick Monfort will not admit yet. And that's the type of change you need to have. This is the type of stuff. This is the type of awakening that has to happen within the Rockies front office. And then they need to stick with it and believe it, because look, the Royals said that, and then they had their worst season. They had 106 losses. It took them a while it took them 2 seasons to get to where they want to be, the end of 2022 and 2023. Now they have their franchise player locked up. Now they're interesting and exciting and fighting for a wild card spot. Now they're a completely different team. Now there's a completely different mentality of them. Instead of coming out and saying, we've tried all the new ideas, we're not interested in bringing new people in, it ain't going to work, or we've tried it and it's not. The Rockies do this. They throw their hands up and they say, nah, we've tried, we've done it, whatever. We're just going to keep doing the same thing. Whereas the Royals here, a team that did win the World Series not that long ago, they sat there and said, we've had a lot of losing seasons in our history. We've had a lot of losing. We need to change things. What we're doing is not working. We need to embrace the analytics. We need to embrace this new age of baseball. We need to do more instead of just sitting back on our heels and saying, we know best, I know how to do it, I'm the smartest, it's working. This screams like this is exactly what the Royals are doing, screams what the Rockies could do as well. But it starts at the top, and it starts by having people at the top that want to open their mind and actually embrace different things and different ideas, as opposed to, I think I know best, and I think I know better, and I think I know this. When in reality, the evidence proves to be otherwise. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies here on today's episode. So go and check us out on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. You can find us also on your favorite streaming services. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Or if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, all available to you as well. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.